Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me, and I'll try to live up to Kim's expectations of me. I know Kim through an organisation called EO, which is a group that we're part of, which sort of helps entrepreneurs go through the struggles of being an entrepreneur and all the ups and downs that you normally go through. How many of you here are actually starting or running a business? Is many of you? Oh, so heaps. Okay, so you'll be familiar with the ups and downs. So I'm just going to talk through our story, try and sort of talk through some of the things that I guess we think have got us through. I talk a bit about we because I have a business partner, Tom, and try and sort of make some conclusions as to what we think's helped us get to where we are and keeping us afloat. Sorry. First of all, so we're just going to talk through, the idea of partnerships, business partnerships. I think that's, for us has been a big thing, and also for a lot of people deciding whether or not to have a business partner is a big deal. The sort of inspiration, how you get the idea, where it comes from, the startup bit, the vision, the planning, having a why. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Culture, beliefs, integrity. Some of the challenges that we've gone through, not many of them, but because there's been a lot, but I'll touch on a couple. Relationships and communication, having a cause, wealth, and what the future looks like. So the first thing that everyone wants to know, and I'll just jump straight to it, is are we partners? And they always assume that we are, but actually we're not, even though often it really does feel like it. So no, Tom and I met when we were about 12. We did swimming lessons together, so we were just sort of friends. I never dreamed I would go into business with him, but I guess the thing that, having known someone for so long, I knew his family, and there was a lot of trust there. So I trusted him not to empty the bank account on me, which I think, in a lot of business partnerships, one of the big reasons they fail is because one business partner does exactly that. So to me, that's a very, very important thing in selecting a business partner, that you actually can trust them. The next one is respect. I knew his background, I knew his intellect, I respected his ideas, and I respected, his way of approaching things, his style, and I think that was probably for me the second big thing. And the third one, we actually wanted to go in the same direction. So having a shared vision, to me, is super important. If I'd wanted to have a big business and he'd wanted to have a small business, or vice versa, we really would have had a problem. So I think the fact that we've had these three things right has actually meant that 12 years later we still are happily in business together. One of the other things we've done, which I think is probably a bit different to most other people, is we've always separated ownership from employment. So we've always said to each other, we're an employee and we're an owner. For me, the most important thing is being an owner. That's actually really what I care about. And if one day I'm not an employee, I still want to be an owner, and the same for him. And I think the thing for us with making that statement up front, it's been important because it's actually allowed us to move our roles, and because we, if someone's actually not that good at doing something, then you sort of have already said, well, one day we may not be an employee. So that, again, has been another important thing. So for me, having a business partner has been a good thing. I guess that was a decision we obviously made right at the start. So in terms of, the idea, everyone talks about their idea, the inspiration. At the time, we had our idea, which now sort of seems pretty old hat, but the idea was to make super premium fruit juice smoothies. There wasn't anyone doing it in Australia when we first had the idea, and Tom had actually been skiing in Canada and thought, seen these green smoothies and said, oh, this is a great idea. And so he came back to Australia and said to me, oh, would you like to start this business doing this? I'd always wanted to have my own business. So, and I actually was working on another business. This was actually the third business that I'd been into. And I thought about the idea, and we went and looked at the market, and we thought about it and looked at the competitors overseas, and I guess sought inspiration like everyone does on the internet and what other people are doing. And I thought, oh, this is a good idea. I think it's a niche. We can not be competing against the big gorillas of the world, and we can not be selling to the big gorillas of the world because we can sell to the cafes, and there's a big cafe market in Australia. And so we thought, it's a good competitive niche. And then we started working on, sort of rolling down the path. So we thought, yes, we like the idea. We'll start working on it. And so we started creating our bottles and our labels and our juices and our recipes. And a year later, we had 4 products. And we'd found a factory, and that factory was going to bottle it for us, and we got everything organised and bought everything. And we got a call from the factory a week before they were meant to start bottling. And they said, oh, we've just realised we can't bottle a square bottle. We've only ever bottled a round bottle, and we can't put a label on a square bottle. We don't have the labeler. And I was like, oh. We bought the bottles, we bought the juice, we bought everything. And they're just saying, no, we can't do it. We're not going to do it. So we got in the car and drove up to Barooga, which is where it was. It's about 3 hours north of Melbourne. And just sat down with them face to face and said, you are going to do this. You have to do this. And they said, we absolutely can't. We can't do it. Anyway, so we worked out that there was someone else that could put the labels on, and for the first production run, I got in a budget truck and drove the bottles from Melbourne, where they'd been labelled, up to Barooga and put them on the line, and away we went. So we got into business by hook or by crook, and I guess it's that thing. At some point you just have to start, and we're going to start. And so that was our starting moment, and that was obviously our first of many challenges. So part of the startup phase and what we went through in the first year, I guess, was working out what we wanted to stand for, what the brand was, what it was all about, choosing the name, for example. So we did this, what we call a visual brand positioning statement. And so in the middle it says straight up. And that really sort of anchors everything we do. And we created this image in that first year, before we had a product, before we had anything. And we still really use this as a framework to make sure that we're on track. So now we're a business. We moved from super premium smoothies. We're now healthy drinks and snacks, but it still fits and feels very comfortable within this framework of what the brand stands for. I guess in a way we summarise it as real. And one of the reasons we chose Emma and Tom's, other than the fact it was sort of obvious, was that actually it would make our weakness of being a small little startup into a strength of being real people. And when we actually were competing against Coke and Schweppes and all these other big companies, they couldn't walk into the store and say, hi, I'm Emma. And it really is really powerful. And people, amazingly, you put your name on a bottle or a cake, and they love it, and they want to talk to you. And here I am tonight. So that sort of thinking, planning, working out really what we were, what we stood for, what we were going to be, what we're not going to be. We weren't going to be cottagey. That was one thing we said to ourselves. Really dictated how we established the brand and the business. I think a lot of it we still use today. Some of it we have totally chucked out. So I guess the next thing is sort of, it's our why. You hear a lot of people talking about your why. And I think, I really like this sort of space. I mean, I really believe people are much happier if they're eating healthier. I think, the number of calories that we eat that are empty calories, or a lot of people eat that are empty calories, we drink that are empty, whether it's alcohol, whether it's treats and biscuits and soft drink and stuff like this. I just think we're fueling ourselves, but we're not feeding ourselves. And I really believe that people feel a lot better, and therefore they feel happier if they are eating well. So to me, that's really, totally believe it. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. In terms of where we want to get to, we believe Emma and Tom's can be and should be a global Australian brand. So we can take Australian healthy drinks and snacks to the world, and that's what we want to do. And we've just started. I've actually just got a WeChat message tonight saying I've got the first 5 products registered by CRQ, so we're going to be shipping them we can now ship them into Shanghai. So, fantastic. Yeah, so that's why, and it's what we're doing is that we do real, minimally processed, no added sugar, nothing artificial, as healthy as you can get in a packaged form. It's not as healthy as growing it yourself and juicing it yourself or mashing it up, but it's convenient, and that's what we're trying to do. So the next thing I guess is all about the team. So this quote is, individually we are one drop, but together we're an ocean. And I think we've realised more and more as we've sort of started to grow the business and we've gone through that sort of project phase where it's just, it was Tom and me starting it, and then there was just a couple of us. As we're growing a business, it's really so important, the team that we get and the sort of values. And when we're hiring people, I don't really care about I care about their skills and experience to an extent, but I really care about their attitude. And that's what I want people who are positive, who are team players, who are going to say yes, who'll challenge things, who'll give things a go, and who are not saying, where's my overtime, or just looking out for themselves all the time. So we've gone through a lot of people. We've got about 60 people in the company now. We've got about 26 different nationalities, and it's really it's fantastic. And we asked this question, which is would I enthusiastically rehire this person? And I think it's a great question. And we maybe can't say yes to everyone, but we can certainly say yes to most people. So that thing of the team is you hear it a lot, but I just is so important, and probably one of the mistakes that I've made is not being sort of firmer on saying no, this is not right, and making a tough decision quicker and trying to change someone's attitude, which I've found very hard. So challenges. I think most entrepreneurs, there's a ton of challenges. There's always challenges, and to start off with, Tom and I used to be sort of nervous when the phone would ring. So we'd be, what new disaster is going to be we're going to be hearing about now? Green bottles have exploded in someone's car, or the bottle has put the wrong label on the wrong juice, and this sort of stuff, or someone's van's broken down. But what we sort of came to realise is actually our job as owners and entrepreneurs is actually to fix the challenges, and there is always a way around it, and we just have to keep on problem solving and persisting and being optimistic and positive. And that is one good thing I find with having a business partner, that because there are so many ups and downs, having someone when you do have a down, it's quite good as long as they're a good business partner. So probably the major challenge that we had in the early days, and it really was a big deal for us, and we almost didn't survive it. We'd set up with a business model that was basically outsourcing the manufacturing and outsourcing the distribution. So we had salespeople on the road, but we had a distributor who would actually sell to the cafe. So our target market was cafes. We'd go and sell to the cafe, get the customer, and then give it to the distributor. And we had a pretty good business. We were the sales were pretty good. We had people in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth. And we were raising one invoice a week, so it was really simple. But then the distributor stopped paying us, and we started to be stretched out, and so we were always calling them, trying to get money out of them. And then the next thing that happened was we realised that our sales weren't growing, and the distributor was just basically changing the service levels with the customers. So we weren't in control of our customer relationship. And basically the business wasn't growing, was going backwards, and we'd hit this figurative bridge. So we didn't want to do it at all, and it took us much longer than it should have to actually realise we needed to actually change our business model. This was a really significant business, I guess, innovation on our business. So we decided we actually had to take over doing our own distribution, which meant getting a van, and getting in the vans ourselves and going and selling the product to. So what we did to start off with, we had a little fridge, or two-door fridge that you see in a cafe, and we were selling mostly to our distributor, but we started putting some product in that fridge, and we had a van, and we'd just go and start delivering to cafes, and so we just built up to that. And so now we have about 40 vans on the road, and we built up from that one fridge. And we've still actually got that fridge. It's still going, amazingly. So that thing of, there will be challenges. They talk about the valleys of death in businesses, and you just think you're going to get up there and, you go through another valley of death. And we've sort of, I just expect it now, and I know it never goes away. So I guess after that experience, we did change our business model, and we really took control of what I think is really a key part of our business, is the customer relationship. So these cafes that we deal with, we now deliver ourselves to about 3,500 every week. So it's a lot. And that relationship we have with that cafe is really important to us. Unlike selling to a supermarket where the buyer can decide, you're going to be out of the juice fridge in Coles, and that's 750 stores you lose overnight, or Woolworths, it's 950 stores. With the cafes, we can't lose it. So while it's expensive, it's difficult to do it. It's actually a very valuable business asset that we actually are in control of this very important part of the business, and it gives us a lot of flexibility, I guess, and ability to do new things and try things. And, in terms of competition, we would be the dominant player in the cafe market now in a highly, highly competitive industry, partly because people don't bother with the cafe because it's hard. But I guess for that reason we like it. Sorry, it keeps on clicking. I must be standing. So when we look at what the product, obviously innovation is usually I talked about business model innovation, but what I'm talking about now is product. Obviously, most people don't talk about business model innovation. I actually think business model innovation is probably more important than product innovation, but obviously we have done a lot of product innovation. The products up on the top left-hand corner, that was what we started with in 2004. And there's actually been more products along the way. And even now I don't know if this has got a pointer on it. No. Oh dear. These ones on the 7 products on the right, we've actually discontinued. Then actually we're discontinuing those 3 big bottles of 2 litre as well, because there's a terrible shortage of orange juice, and so we're going to put that into the 1 litre bottle. So hopefully we'll sell less, but make the same dollars. So we're always innovating the product and changing the product, and I think it's good for us to be prepared to get rid of products if we're not selling enough of it. We bite the bullet and get rid of it. But innovating, and I guess with our innovation, we've basically also proven that we can stretch the brand. So when we first did the snack bars, we were a bit unsure whether the consumer would actually recognise and be happy to try a snack product from a company which previously they'd seen as a juice company. And we were really happy that they actually did. They understood it. So now we're very comfortable with the position of saying, well, we're healthy drinks and snacks. And the snack bars are actually the best-selling product in Woolworths, which is ranged nationally there. Even though they keep on putting in more competition and it gets tougher and tougher to compete, but it's still competing very well. So this is just more innovation. I guess what we did last year even. That's the first no added sugar flavoured milk. So we basically looked at Big M, said, right, this hasn't been looked at. We think this milk should be done without any sugar, so we've made these flavoured milks. We actually, when we were doing all our focus group work, we mostly chose Big M. We did it against Dare and all of them, but Big M was the one we thought was the best. So we mainly matched the flavours to them, but we did it without any sugar. So we've been now trying to push that into the schools market, which we're getting a good response from, and we're working with the supermarkets and stuff on that as well. The Cocoa Magic, that's it's coconut water, but we put a blue spirulina in it. So again, something totally different. The seed slice is just, it may not sound like much, but most snack bars, as you know, are sort of 35, 40 grams. We made this 22 grams, so it's a 100-calorie snack, which a lot of nutritionists are saying a 100-calorie snack is the right sort of size snack. That's got no nuts in it. So just, we're always trying to think of new things. Coming up with new products is actually not that difficult. It's getting the sales on them and picking the ones that we're actually going to sell enough of. So obviously the promotion is a big part of what we do, and when one of the things about putting the vans on the road is actually communicating the brand and making people aware of the brand. Our promotion has sort of revolved around getting the product in people's mouths. So we did a lot of sort of event sponsorship. When we first started, we had our first day of production, we had 10,000 bottles, which was like a ticking time bomb because it had 3 weeks shelf life on it, and we didn't have a single customer. So trying to turn a negative into a positive, we sponsored Round the Bay in a Day and Ride to Work Day, and there are all these big fun runs and things. And so we're just giving it away. But the benefit was we were getting it into people's mouths. They were trialling it. They were liking it. The cafes liked us. They saw that. So that was a good way of getting things moving. And we still do a reasonable amount of sponsorship with new products particularly. PR, we really like PR. And Tom, is good at ringing up journalists and getting stories and getting us on Koshi's Business Builders and this sort of stuff. And I think, doing that in-house, we've tried using PR agencies over the year, and I hope no one's in PR, but they're very good to launch products. But I think as having PR agencies on retainer, we've certainly found it's it's hard to keep someone engaged, and I really think it's better if you do it yourself, because they need to be fed information, and if you're not feeding or we're not feeding them information, then it's very difficult for them to do their job. So I think for us it's better to be doing it in-house. I guess the other part of promotion is really all around communication, and I think communication, when you think about our stakeholders, we've got our own team, we've got our retailers, so what we call the customer, but then we've got the consumer. And so we're always thinking about communication to those three different groups. And I think we can do a lot better in a lot of different areas, but I think as we develop and grow, and we've got people in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth, I mean, even just managing that communication between the team is quite difficult. But obviously things like Skype and WhatsApp and WeChat, and we have cloud-based accounting systems, all just makes the communication internally so much easier. And social media and influencers and people like that is an area where we probably feel we should be doing a lot more as we go forward. And particularly as we start to move outside of Australia, whatever we do online in Australia will be more and more picked up by people outside of Australia. So we haven't really had to promote that much online because our customers were in a cafe and they would buy it because they were in the cafe. But now as we go outside of that, we need to have people really wanting to buy it and knowing about it and being aware of it more than just having it right in front of their face. So another important part of what we've done, which we've really only started, we started 2 years ago. I guess we'd always felt we'd like to have a cause and we'd like to have something which we supported. We were a startup, we didn't have that much money. So we actually didn't instigate this ourselves, but we were approached by Cotton On, who we obviously admire as an entrepreneurial company, and they wanted to develop a bottle to raise money to fight youth homelessness. So we thought sounds like a great cause. They'd done the due diligence on the people we were going to be giving the money to, and so since then we've been selling this bottled water. So we donate all the proceeds from this bottled water to the Ladder Foundation and other youth homelessness charities. And as we get bigger, I think we'll want to get more and more involved with what they're doing day to day. Obviously, we start businesses to create wealth, and unfortunately, at this stage, I don't have a house in the south of France. I'm not driving a Ferrari, and even worse, I only get to ride at the front of the plane on frequent flyer points. So, I'm not wealthy in that sense, but I do think I am actually very wealthy and fortunate in my life, and I'm very happy with my life. I mean, I have a great husband and son, and I think we're all very fortunate to live in a place like Melbourne. I think the team we've got is fantastic, and I really enjoy my day. I like the business. I like what I do day to day, and I really feel that's makes me very wealthy in that way, and very fortunate. I mean, it does come. There's a lot of ups and downs, and it's nothing gets dropped into your lap. But I feel I've made quite a lot of choices that have helped me to get to where I am. But it's and part of it's been just being lucky as well. We're all lucky we live here. So what's the future? For us, I think the future really is outside of Australia more and more. Australia's a good market, but the market of China up north of us is just so massive and so much potential. I think technology is a really, really big thing for us. I mean, using more and more cloud-based things, getting more efficient. We've got GPSs in the vans, just improving communications, cloud-based inventory management, Salesforce, CRM, all that sort of stuff. The market trends, obviously, globally, obesity, diabetes are massive issues. And also, the desire for Asian consumers to have healthy, cleaner products. So, for us, the future, I think, is all, staying in the same space, but focusing more outside of Australia. So just to sum it up, I guess there's 10 words that I sort of, think have helped me and probably have resulted in us surviving the ups and downs and being still here. So, the first one is trust. I think having people around us that I can trust, and also being trusted, I think is very important. Obviously, just starting. I mean, it's hard to start. You never think you got the perfect idea. You never do have the perfect idea, but just starting is a big deal. Relationships, in everything we do with our suppliers, with our customers, I think the relationships we're building are really important, and we work a lot on that. Having a purpose is important. Persisting. Things are always going up and down, and we're always persisting. Being able to adapt, to see that things have changed a bit, and being able to adapt. Communicate. Being able to communicate, becoming better at communicating. Contributing. I think we try not to think about what am I going to get, but what am I giving? What am I doing that is actually helping? Being innovative and having a plan. Thank you very much.